Danes are very easygoing and there are not many things that can ruin their peace. However, like in every country, there are several unspoken rules every tourist should follow and respect. So today, let's talk about 12 things you should never ever do in Denmark. Hi guys, I'm Anna, a travel vlogger who spent more than 3 years living in Norway, traveling around all Scandinavia and filming these videos, never doing Norway, never doing Sweden, never doing Iceland, and now it's turn of Denmark. Let's dive in guys. Number 1, and never ever jaywalk in Denmark. While walking around Denmark, all the tourists will notice that the locals always passionately waiting until the green light before they start crossing the roads. That might not even feel weird unless it's 4 in the morning, it's snowing and there are no cars to be found in a foreseeable distance. But no matter what, Danes never ever jaywalk. This is the lesson they learned from a very early age and make sure they remember it for the rest of their life. After all, that's why the rules are for, to be followed. They know that they live in one of the best countries in the world, after Norway of course. And this is partially because everyone respects the rules here. On top of that, jaywalking can and will earn violators a fine of 700 Danish krona, which is around $100 US. You want to avoid some extra expenses while you're traveling to Denmark and also the locals' judgmental looks. Make sure you will stand on the pavement until the green traffic light comes on. Number 2, and forget about riding a bike before you get familiar with the rules. Exploring Denmark on a bike is definitely one of the best ways to discover some hidden spots of this country. However, before you start riding that bike, make sure you are familiar with the norms. Due to a very strong local biking culture, the locals used to ride their bikes from a very early age. But also, they follow some specific rules to avoid some mishaps. Copenhagen now is facing a bike traffic problem, which means that thousands of bikes are filling the streets of city every single day. Foreigners very often will find themselves panicking while they are on a cycle lane among dozens of bikes. It is a really good idea to practice your biking skills in Denmark in a smaller alley first, to get familiar with all hand signals before setting off to a heavy traffic city center. Number 3, and don't drink and bike ride. Another very important rule concerning bike riding to keep in mind. Riding a bike drunk in Denmark can cost you $230. Well, there is not a legal limit about alcohol intake, but if a policeman believes that the bike rider is not sober enough to drive a bike, that person will not only get a fine, but will also have to leave their bicycle and walk home. Number 4, and don't assume that weed is legal in Denmark. Most travelers have already heard about free town Christiania and really look forward to visiting a globally famous hippie district where open weed trade takes place. Guys, keep in mind that possessing or smoking marijuana is illegal all over Denmark, including Christiania. Number next, and the rule of Pusher Street. At the very entrance of Freetown Christiania, the visitors will see the sign with the district's rules. Sometimes the foreigners don't notice them or just ignore them, but you better pay close attention. The sign clearly stresses that running or taking photos on Pusher Street is not allowed because running causes panic, and Christianians prefer to not have pictures taking of them. But you can take as many pictures as you want after passing Pusher Street. But in that specific little part of the district, it's better to keep your camera in your bag. Number next, and it might sound quite funny, but it's quite serious. Don't interact with Danes' dogs. Yes, I mean the doggies belong to Danish people. Many of us have felt the need to stroke somebody else's dog that is just too cute to ignore and pass by. In most cases, the owner waits passionately and smiles before getting on their way. But that's hardly a case in Denmark. Danes, same as Norwegians, prefer to be left alone unless they signal otherwise. Strangely enough, their dogs share the same look of disapproval when the stranger approaches them and starts petting them, while chilly asking, "Who is a good boy?" Even if the temptation hits to get and pet that fluffy cute doggy, my advice in Denmark, it's always better just to admire it from afar. Don't take, and especially only, flip-flops to Denmark. While packing your suitcase, especially for your summer trips, staples usually include flip-flops, t-shirts, sunglasses and sun cream. But when you're traveling to Denmark, even summertime, don't forget to add a sweater, a raincoat and winter shoes, no matter what time of the year it is. Summer doesn't always reach the Denmark, and even if it does, it may be for a couple of days or mainly hours. Always best to prepare in advance than have to deal with harsh Scandinavian temperature while wearing your summer clothes. Next, and forget about trying out your Danish skills. Even after learning some Danish words and phrases online, believe me, chances are really high that the locals will not understand a thing. Danish is a very tricky language, and the Danes are well aware of it. Anyway, even if you try speaking their language, most probably you will get their response in English. And still, it doesn't hurt your training. Number next, and when you're in Denmark, drink beer, not spirits. Those of you who are planning to have a crazy night out here and hoping to end up a little bit tipsy while sweating it out in some dance floor of the clubs, well, make sure to drink beer all night long, because spirits in Denmark are quite expensive. A 300ml small alcohol drink will cost you here about 70 Danish krona, which is roughly 10 or 12 US dollars. That's why the locals never start their real night party without a proper pre-drinking gathering. So if you also don't want to break the bank, buy some drinks from the local supermarket and start your night out at home or at one of Denmark's beautiful parks, and stick to the beer once at the bar or in the club. Next, and never ever call the Danes Vikings. While visiting some places here and seeing a group of locals, the Danes, yelling "Skål," which means cheers on the local language, at the top of their lungs and cheering while holding up huge pints of beer, it's not unreasonable that an image of a Viking feast will appear in the mind of any foreigner. However, even though the Danes are so proud of their fearless ancestors who conquered many countries in Western and Eastern Europe, starting from the late 8th to 11th century, most likely they will not appreciate being called Vikings. I strongly advise you to find a better way of how to start a conversation with the locals. Number next, and don't you dare to say that Roskilde is not the best festival in Europe. Taking place at the very end of June, Roskilde is the biggest and the most beloved festival in the country. 7 days, a small town of Roskilde becomes the hottest meeting place for music fans from all over the world. Naturally, Danes treat this occasion as a chance to party hard and drink even harder, to the point where it becomes a mass obsession. There is a little to no chance that this festival will not appear during a conversation with any local. And when it does, make sure to share their enthusiasm. Number last for today, and resist the urge to peep. And this is another unspoken rule among Danes. Privacy is to be respected at all times. And that is probably why they rarely bother to close their windows or even hang curtains. While walking around on the streets of any Danish city, it's very likely to see floor-level buildings and houses that offer a very clear view inside a living room or even a bedroom. Most foreigners are so tempted to sneak a peek inside to see what a typical Danish house looks like. My friendly advice here to avoid any sort of misunderstanding: refrain from staring. So, another one in our collection of never ever do in a foreign country videos. Did you enjoy this one? Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. By the way, guys, are you planning to visit Scandinavia this year? What is your favorite country here? Which country you're planning to visit? Also, please let me know in the comment section down below. And for now, stay safe, be happy, and as our tradition goes, I will see you next week, guys. Love you so much. Love you. See you later, guys. See you next week. Bye.